best show on YouTube for sports. It's Fluent and Chill, Season 2. I'm Anthony K of Sports Fluent. He is Jermaine of Chilltown Hoops. Jay, how you doing, man?
Don't have the chills, so
you sound much better. We ended the season. We ended the year off a little under the weather, but we're all feeling better now. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the biggest stories in 2021. That's what you're supposed to do the first week of the new year. We're going to make our NBA not the voters, not the our NBA All-Star team selections. We're going to recap our Week 17 picks. We did so good. You guys should start listening to us because our picks are solid. Then we're going to start it off. I don't know if it's a sad note, it's definitely not a happy thing. Antonio Brown on Sunday had a dust up on the sideline. There's rumors about what happened, but at the end of the day, whatever happened caused him to say, forget this. And he took off his shoulder pads, took off his jersey. They say they threw them into the crowd, but I don't think I looked at it again. He just threw it to the sideline. He didn't throw it into the crowd.
Right.
And then proceeded to leave the field. But not just leave the field. Like if he had just left the field, I think it would have even been received differently. No, he went to dance and kind of hop and skip his way through the end zone and wave to the crowd. And the crowd wasn't very nice to him. They were flipping him the bird as he left. There's the shots of him. Great jacket, by the way, Antonio Brown, if you're listening. Great jacket. He's shown there with his luggage getting a ride. He then releases a rap song, which is you can find on Fluent and Chill. And then the rumors start to come out. He was hurt. He didn't want to go in. He wouldn't go in. He wouldn't go in because he's a malcontent. He wouldn't go in because he was hurt. Bruce Arians is just, pushing him to play injured when he doesn't need it. More has come out since we spoke last about incentives. Oh, well, they didn't want to put him in because he was so close to getting all these incentives for receptions and touchdowns and yards, and they didn't want to do it. Bruce Arians looked very angry in the press conference. He's not a Buck anymore. Next question type of angry. When you saw, I guess the initial reaction when you saw it, since the news has unfolded, where's your head with Antonio Brown right now?
Well, it looked to me, Tone, like Bruce Arians had to deal with him, and this was just the final straw. It seemed like he was already over Antonio Brown. And if you recall, Tone, he didn't want Antonio Brown in the beginning. Like this was even before he even got on the crew. He had announced we don't need him.
That's right. He did say that. I forgot about that.
So he didn't want him from the beginning, right? Because he knew the malcontent that he was. So this was already something that was a recipe for disaster. However, Brady vouched for him. And not only did Brady vouch for him, he was playing really well. So what we'll do is, we'll tolerate it for right now. But then the nonsense starts to pile up. You got the vaccine card and him being injured and things like that. Now, what we can't discount, Tone, is we can't discount the player that he is. We can't discount that. No question about that. He's absolutely an elite wide receiver. But the other stuff that came with him, Bruce Arians saw that a while ago, and he didn't want anything to do with it. And because he didn't want anything to do with it, it was almost like seeing Bruce Arians, it was almost like he felt like, man, I knew this was going to happen, and I let you guys suck me into this, and now I'm in it, and I'm upset because this could have been avoided. We didn't need this guy, and here we are now. And what was I thinking? That's kind of what he looked like to me.
Yeah, when I went back, because my original thought was, man, this guy clearly has something that he needs help with, right? There's some instability there. Because here's the thing. Okay, you're injured. You refuse to go in. I respect the fact that you know your body better than anyone else. So if you're truly injured and you can't go in, there's ways to take off your helmet, you sit down, you talk to the trainers, whatever. And there's ways to even leave the game to say, hey, I can't put weight on this ankle. I can't cut. I need to get back into the training room. And guess what happens? Someone walks with you and they escort you into the locker room. And we'll question what happened, and it'll come out later. Oh, yeah, he had an ankle injury and he was, and now there's no issue. The fact that you make a spectacle of it. I think, hey, listen, people argue, fight on the sideline all the time. And we say, Tom Brady slammed his iPad down into the ground because he was having a bad game and the team lost a game they should have won. And we say, look at the passion. So I say that now. Listen, I know that there's double standards for certain people doing the same act and they get treated differently. Don't get me wrong, I understand. But taking off your shoulder pads and your jersey and dancing through the end zone, I don't care who you are, you're gonna get a bad rap about that.
Right.
Bruce Arians, to me, I think you're right, was like, it was kind of like, I told you so. Or the other thing I saw was, hey, I told you it was your last chance, right? With the vaccine card, we're gonna bring you back because we need you. Because we do. Right. Listen, Evans was hurt. Godwin's out for the season. We need a receiver of Antonio Brown's ability on the field, because we'll get to on the field here in a second. And it was just like, I can't have you doing that. And that's what it was. It was almost like just anger, disappointment. I think even more so than the I told you so. It was like, I gave you another shot, and like,
he was absolutely over it.
You screwed it up.
He just looked like he was over it. Like, I knew this was going to happen. I didn't want this in the beginning, but I let you guys talk me into this. And what happens when stuff like that happens? Now you start to question you, like, damn, what was I thinking? I shouldn't have got involved with this guy from the beginning, because I knew what this was going to be. Because he saw what he had done with the Raiders. He saw what he had done in New England. He saw what he had done in Pittsburgh. And he's thinking, and Bruce Arians is thinking, this is going to continue if we bring this guy over here. And I don't want anything to do with this. But against my better judgment.
Hey, when you have a quarterback like Tom Brady,
right,
and he says, I'm vouching, this guy's staying in my house, I'm vouching for this guy. You have to do it, right? Like,
of course,
you have to do it. So let me ask you this: is this his last? We can assume it's his last game with the Bucs. Is this Antonio Brown's last game in the NFL?
I think he overtoned, and I would be surprised, to be quite honest with you, if he were to get. Now, you can say, well, give it some time and let some things pass. And how much? What is Antonio Brown? Was he 32, 33? I think
he's on the wrong. Yeah, he's on the wrong side of your prime, right, I guess, technically.
So if that's the case, then I mean, how many more years? Teams have already proven in the past that they'll do anything to win it, and they'll bring anybody in to win. However, there's a line that can't be crossed, and with a guy like Antonio Brown, I doubt very seriously that anybody is interested in that kind of nonsense. I doubt that.
And the thing is, there's only a couple of players that command the respect and teams that command the respect that could bring in a personality like that, right? You have Tom Brady. Well, that didn't work. You have the Patriots.
Right.
Well, that didn't work. So another team that doesn't have that, how do you bring in someone? How can you expect to keep him kind of reeled in for a whole season?
What about Pittsburgh, Tom? That's a first class. So you're talking about
and Pittsburgh. Like, they did a great job for the first
You just said
7 or 8 years.
You just said Brady. Okay, so I don't know if you can't get with Brady, then that's one thing. Then you got Pittsburgh, which is a first class organization, and then Belichick. So that's 3 out of 4. That's first class organizations. And if you can't get it right with these people, what makes you think he's going to get it right in Cleveland?
Well, and that was going to be my next point. Is that's the tough part? Is if he had done this in Cleveland,
right,
in another city, and much like Randy Moss in Oakland, right? And then he comes over to the Patriots. Oh, he's a model citizen. We forgot what a great receiver he is. Top 3 all time, right? Mm-hmm. We thought he was washed, and people were saying he was washed in Oakland. He looked pretty good to me in New England. And so that I understand. But now this is reverse. Well, you've been to those first class organizations and it didn't work. Mm-hmm. So I know because of his talent. So yes, I think it's his last game in the NFL. I think he gets called to a training camp next year.
I don't.
And I think he does, and I think it doesn't work and it doesn't last. Someone's going to give him a chance. Someone's going to have some injuries at wide receiver, and they're going to bring him in for a look. Because this, coaches, general managers have what bigger than anyone else in the world? Ego. And they're going to say, I can do it. I can fix it. I can keep him under control.
Here's the thing, though, Tom. What's the benefit of bringing in this guy who, let's be clear about one thing. Him being how he is, that's a complete and utter disruption in your locker room. Forget what kind of player he is. Just bringing him into your locker room. So now you want to bring him in training camp where he's the most impressionable. We got guys that haven't made the squad yet that are trying to make the squad. We got vets that are trying to move forward, and we want to bring this kind of entity into what we're doing. Okay. No way, Tone. No way.
So maybe not trading camp, but like, what if a team is depleted at wide receiver week 4?
No, we could find somebody else.
You know, because here's the thing. So the question is, was it his last game in the NFL? I also agree, yes, but I think someone still gives him a look. You say yes, but no one gives him a look. Is he a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, but I think that I don't think he's gonna be alive to see it. What I mean when I say what I mean when I say that is very much like Pete. Pete Rose is not in the Pro Baseball Hall of Fame. Pete Rose is getting in the Hall of Fame. He's just not going to be allowed to be. He's not going to be around.
Well, yeah, because he was banned for life. So technically, once he's gone,
yeah, he's getting in. So I think the same thing is going to happen. Antonio Brown is not going to put on a gold jet. I doubt that very seriously.
Doesn't the NFL? I think you have to be retired for what, 5 years?
5 years is what it is.
5 years. So 5 years from now, let's say we have to check how old Antonio Brown is, but I think you're right. I think he's like 32, 33 or something. Mm-hmm. So let's say he's eligible at 38. Mm-hmm. How many years do you have of eligibility in the NFL? Is it infinite, or do you know how many years?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Tom, I think it's 10.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So you don't think he's gonna be alive at 48?
I don't know if he's gonna be around, man, to be honest with you.
Because I see it more as this. Okay, let's assume. I know this is a big assumption. All the off the field, all the antics, and he just played and he retired today. Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer just based on stats?
Based on stats, yes.
Okay. So I think he gets, and I think this person I'm going to mention it wasn't right what they did to him. However, I think he gets treated like Terrell Owens. All the stats to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but they make him wait, a cycle or two to prove a point that if you're a bad person or if you're a disruption, you have to pay a price. The code, the unwritten Hall of Fame code, which I disagree with. I think what you do on the field is separate. Like Pete Rose is a great example. I get it. All the things he did. I just, don't get me wrong. But it's the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's not the Personality Hall of Fame. It's not the Everybody Likes Me Hall of Fame. It's not the, I got along and I was a stand-up guy, role model Hall of Fame. No. It's a Baseball Hall of Fame. What did you do on the field? Well, on the field, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? Pete Rose, as was Terrell Owens. Mm-hmm. And, I think I'm not a big baseball guy, as you know, but I forget. He's some old guy from like the White Sox back in like the 20s or something, who's like, he's a jerk. We're never putting him in the Hall of Fame. Man, Ty Cobb or something.
Joe Shoeless Jackson is his name.
Yeah, it's just like he deserves to be the Hall of Fame.
So here's the thing. This is what needs to be understood. This is what needs to be understood when it comes to Antonio Brown. Terrell Owens was quote unquote a malcontent. You never saw these kind of antics with him. He was not even close to any of this stuff. Not to mention, with Terrell Owens, he might have fussed and he might have been upset about not getting the ball. But come Sunday, he produced. Yeah. We never saw his picture. We never saw his mugshot on SportsCenter. We never heard about this dude smacking up girls and nothing like that. We never saw any of that with him. So with him and Antonio Brown, we're talking about apples and oranges. They're not even close to being the same. Absolutely. Not to mention, T.O. was a way better receiver than Antonio Brown. Way better.
Way better?
It's not close.
I say better. Way better?
He ain't. It's not even. When I look at Antonio Brown, as good as he is, he wasn't as good as T.O. No.
So AB's best season to Terrell Owens' best season, I agree Terrell is better, but you think way better. You think there's a big gap there?
I'm a back off the way better. But what I will say is that he was better than him.
I agree with you there. The way better caught me off guard. I was like, now maybe because the longevity, obviously, Antonio didn't get to play, I think, as many seasons as he probably could have or should have. But
I think the problem we have, Tone, is that when we equate Antonio Brown with him, we equate not just him being a malcontent, but also him as a player. I mean, Terrell Owens, for the decade from 2000 to 2009, he had the most 1,000-yard seasons. Nobody else had more 1,000-yard seasons, more yards than he did.
Well, yeah, you're not going to get an argument from me on how good Terrell Owens is. Absolutely not. I've got him. I got Terrell on my Mount Rushmore of wide receivers, so you're not going to hear me argue there. We're going to stick we're gonna stick with football for a second because as always we do our we did our picks last week. We did good. We did real good. So we both got 13. 13 out of I think it's 16 games they play. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 13 out of 16. The ones we got wrong, one of us got wrong. Like I picked Denver. You had the Chargers. Let's see which one. I had Pittsburgh. You had Cleveland.
Okay.
I had Tennessee. You had Miami. So those are the couple ones that we got wrong. The only game that we both picked wrong. Well, let's start with that one. Pittsburgh. So I picked Pittsburgh. You picked Cleveland. At the beginning of the season, you had Cleveland winning the AFC North. I told you that I don't trust Baker Mayfield. I don't trust Baker Mayfield. 16 of 38, 185 yards, 2 interceptions, and about 37 sacks. Do you trust Baker Mayfield anymore?
No.
Is Baker Mayfield's time in Cleveland done?
Well, it's interesting you mention that, Tone, because not only do they have a quarterback situation, it's not like Baker Mayfield is, not only is he in a contract year, he's also injured too. He's got to have shoulder surgery this offseason. So that's going to be a problem too. So Cleveland's got some decisions to make. Is this our guy moving forward? And if he's not, then which way are we going? Because they got a first round pick. They don't have the number 1 overall pick. But if we starting over, what are we starting over with? Because we can't just go, well, we dumping Baker Mayfield and we don't have a plan moving forward. I don't know if Baker Mayfield,
that would be very Cleveland thing to do.
It would be very Cleveland to do, to be quite honest with you. Now, I understand that, they haven't been, Baker hasn't been, I think he had one season where he looked like he might be the franchise guy. But your guy, Hugh Jackson, told us 3 years ago, this isn't the guy. He told us this, and he was adamant about it, that, nah, man, I know what you guys think, but this guy isn't the guy. And I was thinking, Coach, what are you looking at, man? He looks like he's the real
Coach, you're crazy.
Yeah, Coach, what's going on? Turns out, and what I'm not going to do, Tone, is I'm not going to get sucked into this one season because he doesn't really look like he's progressed enough for me. Because we are in we at the end of year 4, Tone.
Yeah. Right? When you see so many young quarterbacks coming in, and performing and getting better, right? You don't see that for Baker. Baker is, someone said this, and I know this is an overreaction. I get that. He said Baker is a sober Johnny Manziel.
That ain't ridiculous.
And I kind of went, that ain't ridiculous. Like, I don't.
That's not ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous. So here's the thing. So if you're Cleveland, are you looking in the draft because you've seen a lot of young quarterbacks come in NFL ready and they jump right in, start, Herbert as an example, et cetera. Or there's some quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo down a couple of tiers that are going to be available may be available this offseason. Do you because here's the thing. Listen, I get it. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I want to go to California, right? I'm a Southern California kid. If I'm leaving Green Bay, I want to get out of the cold. But it's not crazy. It's not crazy to say, look, the weather in Cleveland isn't any worse than Green Bay. It's not. And say, hey, here's the thing. Here's what I can offer you. I got a number 1 wide receiver. I got 2, just like you have in Green Bay. I have 2 great backs. And for the first time in your career, I have a really, really good defense.
Really good.
You want to end your career? Bring a Super Bowl to Cleveland and be a god. Because if you bring a Super Bowl to Cleveland, I've said this before and people fought with me. And I said, look, Baker's not the guy to do it. But the question was, if Baker brings a Super Bowl to Cleveland, is he bigger than LeBron in Cleveland? In Cleveland. Yeah. And I said, yes, in Cleveland alone.
They'll build a statue of him outside the arena.
100%. And so now, is Aaron Rodgers going to take that debate on that? I don't know. Russell Wilson. I get it. He's from Virginia. He's been playing in Seattle. I don't know where he wants to go. Listen, he had Chicago as one of his teams that he would go to. If Chicago, why not? I hate to put these 2 teams in the same breath, but why not Cleveland? And then to a lesser extent, your guy, Jimmy G, he's done. Like, we know that's going to be Trey Lance's team. So we know San Francisco will make a move. We know Cleveland would probably give up their first round pick.
Right.
And is Jimmy G on the same level as Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson? No. But is he better than Baker Mayfield? I think so.
I think so too.
Because here's the thing. I can win a Super Bowl with two types of quarterbacks. Elite quarterbacks that can win me games and put a whole team on their shoulders, and average quarterbacks who don't cost me the game. They don't have to win the game, but they can't cost me the game.
That's the most important part, Tone, what you just said. The second part.
And I think Baker Mayfield puts you in a position sometime where he'll cost you the game. And
here's the thing with Cleveland. You just mentioned it, Tone. A lot of teams like Chicago, they might be a little further away. The Giants. Cleveland is not that far away.
No.
This is a quick fix, as a matter of fact.
I said to you 2 years ago, they're a coach. It was Kitchens, I believe. Kitchens and I said, yeah, they're a coach and a quarterback away.
Yeah.
And I like Stefanski. And I said to you, well, now you know this. I'm beating my own drum here for a bit. I said they're a quarterback away. And I said to you, they would have been, I know I'm repeating myself, but I said they would have been better off keeping OBJ and starting Case Keenum and trading Baker Mayfield. And I stick by that to this day, that I think they would have been in the playoffs. Now, are they a Super Bowl contender that way? I don't know. But are they in the playoffs that way? I think yes. I think OBJ's not washed.
And I will tell you this, though, Tone. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that they are in the playoffs like that. Well, now they become even more attractive because now people are looking at them going, damn.
Case Keenum led them to the playoffs. Imagine what I could do.
The thing that I'm thinking about is Mark Jackson. I'm thinking about Mark Jackson when he played in Indiana. When he played in Indiana, and he was playing in Denver. And before he went to Indiana, he was in Denver. So the Pacers end up losing in the playoffs to the Knicks, and Mark Jackson is looking at that group going, I think they're a point guard away from really challenging for the Eastern Conference. And I think I'm that guy. So you take not Baker Mayfield, you take Cleveland and you put Case Keenum in that lineup, and they end up in the divisional round, and maybe they win a game. And now you're looking at this team going, boy, they're a quarterback away. And Aaron Rodgers is thinking, or Russell Wilson is thinking, I can get them to the AFC Championship game. With that group right there,
I can get that group to the Super Bowl.
I can get that group to the Super Bowl.
Because what's Russell Wilson saying? Do they have a defense? Because Russell Wilson knows. How did he win a Super Bowl? He played great, but they had a really good defense.
Legion of Boom. Absolutely.
What has Aaron Rodgers been saying for, I don't know, every single season he's been in Green Bay? I wish I had a defense.
Yeah.
Right? And Russell Wilson also, I wish I had an O-line. And I'm not saying Cleveland's O-line is great, but they're better than Seattle's. And if you have a running game, especially a two-headed attack like that, I'm feeling pretty good about myself as a quarterback if I can run the ball, have an offensive line, have a defense, set up play action. All the pieces are there. So, it's there. So, okay. So let's get back. So that's because that was a game that I think put the nail in the Baker coffin. So here, let's talk about the game that we both got wrong. And remember, I told you, you're going to kick yourself when I tell you, because you're going to say, I never should have picked them. We both picked Dallas to beat Arizona.
Oh, I damn sure did pick the Cowboys, and I got sucked into that. And the reason why I got sucked
and all season, you said, I'm not going to get sucked into that. You got sucked into the Cowboys.
I'm sucked in, Tone. I got sucked in. And the problem that I'm having, the more I watch the Cowboys, that offense is worrying me more and more. Kellen Moore, not Kellen Moore, I take that back. Zeke does not look like Zeke from 2 years ago. Dak looks like he's at a sword. Now they just lost Gallup. He's out for the season. He just tore up his knee. So, Amari Cooper, I don't think Dak goes to him nearly as much as he should. And when I think about Pollard, and when I think about the kind of runner he is, I'm not sucked into him being a featured back. And the reason why is because I know what being a workhorse back is. And for him to now get the lion's share of the carries, it would look good initially. But then when teams start loading up and now they're prepared for you, you're going to see a completely different back. So I'm not sucked into that. The thing that I'm concerned with the Cowboys is their overall offense. It's not their defense. Their defense is solid. I love Micah Parsons.
Listen, they played well enough.
Yeah.
To win that game.
Yeah, they did. Now, we had some mismanagement tone of
well, I'm talking about, I mean, the defense played well enough.
Of course.
Yeah.
We had some mismanagement of timeouts. And was that a fumble at the end? Well, yeah, it was a fumble at the end. But when you put yourself in a position where you got 3 straight 3-and-outs and you're not scoring, you're not forget scoring zone. We're not even moving the football.
The ball, yeah.
We're not even moving the football. Now, the Cowboys are a team that I found out. The Cowboys are a team right now where they could lose in the divisional round, but they could also be in the NFC Championship too. So I'm interested to see what happens with these dudes.
We've talked about this, and it's just I'm with you. It's like I feel like I get it. They want to balance the running backs. They think Zeke, and maybe there is something wrong with Zeke that we don't know. But I just think, and I'm like, if you run Zeke 15 times a game and you run Pollard 10 times a game, which means you're running the ball 25 times a game. An average game, I think, has like what, 50, 60 plays. So just under half. Now you're setting up that play action for Zeke or for Dak, excuse me. Dak looks so much better coming off a play action, as does almost every quarterback ever in the history of football. I find they have so much talent at the skill positions. They have such a good offensive line. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to score not at will, but I mean, in today's NFL with what's going on, they should be more effective, more efficient on offense, and they're not. And I think part of that is they get pass happy, right? I said this to you before, where, when you see Zeke run the ball 5 times and Dak throws it 50, I don't even have to tell you. I bet you they lost that game. Like, I don't even have to know the score. I say, I bet you they lost. And if they won, I'm surprised. I went back and looked, just FYI. I actually just tooting our own horn. Denver and Dallas. Those are the 2 games I got wrong. I got 14. So I beat you by 1. You got 13. I'm impressed because I've been so up and down this season with teams, but as it gets later on in the season, Dallas really upset me. I really thought the Chargers were done. So I'm really impressed how they came out and beat Denver. So we're gonna switch from football. We're gonna make, like we said, we're gonna make our week 18, our last round, our last week, which means playoffs is here. Our last week, we're gonna make those picks. Those will come out on Friday. Obviously, check them out because 13 right, 14 right. You're gonna be tops on your straight up picks. NBA, we might. I don't know. COVID might block this, but there's gonna be, at least we think there's gonna be an All-Star game.
Yes.
We've had a lot of talk about All-Star games in our lives on TikTok. Everyone wants to know, should this player be an All-Star? Should that player be an All-Star? I said to you, I don't even like the fact. I get it. The fans. It's a fan event. Fans get to pick the starters. I've always said the fans should pick the reserves, not the starters. Because I feel like an all-star starter should be like an accomplishment that's given to you by your peers. I feel like the players should vote those. You can't vote for yourself, but players should vote for the starting 5. Actually, I think the players should vote for everybody, but players should vote for the starting 5, like the NFL, like the top 100. Like, that's a huge honor when you see my peers put me at number 7, number 37 of everyone in the NFL. That's pretty good.
This is what they think of me. This is what they think of me.
Because there's, like, if you think about it, 53-man rosters, 32 teams, basic math, it's like 1,600 players. To be in that top 100 is a big deal.
You're in the top 10%.
Yeah. So to put the All-Star. So I want the players to pick them. I know it's not going to happen. That being said, I'm going to make you and me the heads of the NBA. And we're going to let the fans vote in the reserves. I want your East and West starters.
Okay. So in the East, I'm going to go in the front court. I think Embiid starts at the 5. Giannis goes at the 4. Let's see. And KD goes at the 3. And in the backcourt, I said this already, Tone. I think
I know this is with the big one that's going to shock everybody.
I think LaMelo Ball starts in the All-Star game. LaMelo Ball starts with DeMar DeRozan. There's your 5 right there.
I have no complaints with your front court because I think anyone that argues Embiid, Giannis, and KD, you have to make a really good argument for someone else to replace one of those 3 because those 3 are all MVP candidates. If healthy and play every game, because we know that's an issue, those 3 are all MVP candidates. So I'm with you on those 3. In the backcourt, I think DeRozan, who also should be an MVP candidate, is there. The other guard position, though, the other guard position for me is LaMelo Ball the best guard. Is LaMelo Ball the best guard?
Is he?
Is he? Do
Is
you
he?
have him over? I'm trying to think of who the other East guards are. So do you have him over?
Tone, I want to start LaMelo with his brother. That's what I want to do. I'm gonna put it.
You want an all ball backcourt?
That's what I want to do. I want to start him with his brother. Absolutely. And if he was playing better, I think he's like 13 a game. If he was 16, 17 a game, I'm starting both of them. But I can't do that.
But you couldn't start him over the season DeMar DeRozan is having.
Like I said, I want to start him, but I can't because he ain't playing as good. Now,
what if they had DeMar as a small forward? Would you start DeMar over someone else?
Who am I taking off that? Am I taking KD out? Am I taking Giannis out? I can't do that.
So you would move an MVP candidate if he was the forward to the bench.
I said I want to start both of them. I can't start both of them.
So I think we agree DeMar. Okay, so we agree on those four.
Right.
So here's the other guards in contention. And I need to, because I'm not sold on any one of these guys, which is why this is so difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You have LaMelo over. So we're leaving DeMar, we're leaving KD, Giannis, and Embiid.
Yep.
But here's the other guards. Trae Young, Zach LaVine.
He had 56 last night, by the way. I won't put that out there. But go ahead.
Jaylen Brown, Bradley Beal, James Harden, Freddie Van Vliet, and then Darius Garland.
Kyle Lowry,
Drew Holiday. You've got LaMelo over all those guys.
Yep, I think LaMelo's starting in the All-Star game.
Okay, I feel like the city of Chicago is going to come out, and we might see a DeMar Zach backcourt.
That's not ridiculous neither.
However, that's them. That's their voting. Who I'm putting in my backcourt, I'm putting Trae Young with DeMar DeRozan, and then those other three guys. So to the West.
So in the West, in the back, in the front court, I got Joker, I got James, and I'm gonna surprise you here, Tone. I got Cat starting.
That's not a surprise.
I got Cat starting at
that's actually not a surprise. It's not a surprise because that's my three.
Yeah, I got Cat starting at the other spot. So
because I look at the other guys and I'm like, okay, I think LeBron and Jokic are locks, and then it's like Paul George, Cat. I'm not Paul George, Anthony Davis, Brandon Ingram, Porzingis, Wiggins, Valanciunas should get some love. However, Ayton, but all of those guys have been kind of inconsistent. And so, I thought I was going to surprise you and say Cat. Okay, so so front court, we're good on the front court.
Yep.
I think it's the backcourt. It's the backcourt where I think we may or may not, because I think I'm going to surprise you.
I think it's simple. It's Chris Paul and Curry.
I got Curry and Morant.
John Morant might be starting in the All-Star.
I love me some
John Morant might be starting in the All-Star game. He's making the All-Star team, no question about that. He may be starting in the All-Star game. That's not ridiculous.
I was asked a question yesterday. We're gonna bring in the mailbag. We're working on the mailbag segment because we want to have a good name and a catchy. I want to have an intro for it. I want to do a whole thing. So we're gonna do it. But there was one thing that was in the mailbag, which was, if there's a player all time who could win in the same year a dunk contest and a 3-point shooting contest, who would it be? And the names that were thrown out was Zach LaVine, Donovan Mitchell, and Damian Lillard. Those were the three. Do you know who mine is?
Ja Morant.
I think Ja Morant could probably do that. I said this 2 years ago. Everyone was talking about Zion and all these Luka when they were coming into the league. And I was like, I don't know, something about Ja Morant. I think he's going to be special. And I think we're starting to see that. If he can get that special consistent now, man. So that's my so you got Curry and Paul, and look, you can't go wrong with Curry and Paul. But I think if it's my team, I got Ja. So our only difference is where you got LaMelo in the East, I got Trey, you got Paul. See, you like the veterans. I like the youngsters.
I like to be honest with you,
I like the youngsters because we're normally the opposite. We're normally the opposite.
Right. But I like the youngsters too. I like this kid, Ja Morant. He could very well start an All-Star game. Absolutely, he could start an All-Star game. And then I'm thinking about the other teams. I'm thinking about the other teams in the Western Conference. And outside of Ja, I can't really, if you look at the Pacific Division, right? That's Sacramento, because Fox is not going to start.
Right.
Sacramento, Golden State, the Lakers, the Clippers, Phoenix. So Chris Paul and Steph Curry. So when you look at the Southwest Division, when I look at the Southwest Division with San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, New Orleans, and Memphis, well, Ja's the only guy that I'm thinking about because Dame hasn't played well enough where he should be starting in the All-Star game. I don't think so.
Let's keep in mind, this isn't, I know we make this mistake sometimes. This isn't a lifetime achievement award.
No, it is not.
This is how you're playing this season.
That's correct.
Lillard isn't playing great.
Nope.
Look, there's some names like Mitchell, Doncic, Booker, Shai, Anthony Edwards. There's some really good players.
Right.
But like if I have gun to my head, I have to pick one. I feel like I'm gonna have a
that's not ridiculous.
I'm gonna have I'm taking Iguodala moment. I'm taking Ja Morant. Speaking of, I want to, before we get to the biggest stories of 2021, and that's how we're going to end it. I do want to ask you one other question because we talked about Antonio Brown, so we're going to circle back here for a second. And I'm always at odds with Nick Wright. I think it's just he came out the other day and said the problem with Antonio Brown, you got to put some of the blame, the responsibility on Tom Brady. He vouched for him. He brought him into his home. He brought him onto the team, and he found a way in Nick Wrong fashion to say, just like LeBron James, if you can blame LeBron James for bringing in a player like Russell Westbrook who doesn't fit into the system and he gets the blame for it, which I don't know anyone who's blamed LeBron James for that, but anyways, then you got to blame Tom Brady because LeBron, and then he goes on a 5-minute thing about LeBron. How he was able to make everything about LeBron James is actually a skill that, as much as I hate it, I guess I'm impressed. I don't know, like it's kind of like 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon. He finds a way to do that with LeBron. Is it Tom Brady? Do you put any of that blame on Tom Brady? And do you blame LeBron James for Russell Westbrook? I can't even say his name. Russell Westbrook.
Well, first of all, when you vouch for somebody, you vouch them for everything. Okay, so you're not when you bring in somebody else in, Tone, I'm telling you, this is my guy, and we're doing this because I think that he can help us. So anything that comes with him, I'm the one who got it. Prime example would be in 2015 when Cleveland traded for J.R. Smith, and James vouched for J.R. Smith. He said, "Yo, I got him," and he vouched for this guy. So all the stuff that come with J.R., I'm the one on the hook for it. So Tom Brady, who vouched for, when you vouch, like I said, Tom, when you vouch for somebody, you vouching for everything. Now, the issue that we have is we think that all the talent and his play is going to overshadow all the nonsense, and we're going to make you forget about all of that.
That's what you're hoping for.
That's what you're hoping for. But once again, Tone, when I vouch for you, I'm vouching for everything. So when that nonsense comes up, I'm on the hook for that because I vouched for you. So Tom Brady, absolutely, he does. I don't know. I'm not going to say shoulder a huge load,
no,
but when you vouch for somebody, Tone, you have to take everything that comes with them. No question about that.
Is vouching like co-signing a loan? So if he goes delinquent on it, I got to pay the bill.
That's exactly what it is. What I equate it to the '89 Detroit Pistons when they traded for Mark Aguirre. Now, Bill Laimbeer had made it crystal clear, Mark, I don't like you. I don't like nothing about you. Isaiah vouches for you, though. So Isaiah vouches for you. These are the rules. This is how we do things. Let's go. So Isaiah vouching for him. This is my man. So all the nonsense that come with him, I'll handle it and I'll take it. So that's part of it.
Okay. All right. Well, then there you go. then Tom Brady does have some explaining to do. All right.
Mhm.
I'm going to throw out, I don't know, 5 maybe of the biggest stories of 2021. And there's a lot.
Yeah.
And you tell me if one of those 5 you feel is the biggest story of 2021, or is it something else? So we're going to start, no particular order.
Mhm.
Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks win an NBA championship. So Giannis gets his first. I don't know how much of a baseball fan you are,
Mhm.
but there's this player in the Major League Baseball, Otani,
Mhm.
not only could pitch, and it's hard. I don't know how much baseball you've played. It's hard to hit a major league pitcher. Like
Yes, it is.
like when people say, I could do that when they're watching,
No,
certain sport. No, you can't.
you
No,
can't.
you can't.
You
So
think you can?
Otani goes for 40 home runs, 156 strikeouts. So he can pitch too.
Mhm.
And obviously wins the American League MVP. So that's
Mhm.
huge. In college sports, the NIL comes out, name, image, likeness. For those that don't know what NIL stands for, where players can now sign deals to get paid to use their name, image, and likeness, something that they hadn't been able to do in the past. In 2021, there was a huge focus on mental health.
Mhm.
And obviously, this week, we're talking a bit about it as well. And then the last one on my list, and this is not just sports, this is the world over, is COVID.
Here's the one thing that we gotta respect. We gotta accept, Tone. And the reason why COVID is a big deal is because people are wrapped up in COVID being a nuisance, like it's gonna go away. COVID's not going anywhere. COVID is very much like what the flu is, where now it's a part of our society, and we're just gonna have to deal with it. Now, they're gonna be stronger variants. They're gonna be weaker variants. Tone, over 36,000 people every year die of the flu. More people die some years than others. But with that being said, the flu isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
COVID isn't going anywhere. It's something that's just going to be a part of our society, and it's going to be a part of who we are now. So that's one thing. Now, when I think about the NCAA, I think that's a big deal, Tone. And the reason why that's a big deal is because basically what happened was that the field hands got smart and decided that the reason why this thing is running the way it is because of us. And it's not just going to be, you give me a free education, room and board anymore. That's not enough. Now you have to come off of other things. I should be able to now profit off of my own likeness like you do. You're not just doing me a favor, quote unquote, by putting me in school and putting me up. No, I should be, because that's the American way anyway. I should be able to profit off my own likeness. You are not the only one who's going to profit off of that. Because last time I checked, Tone, when I played college basketball, the one thing that I found out, when you can't play no more, you can't play no more.
Oh, take it from a player who got injured.
Right. So
People don't realize this. Your scholarship is not for your entire career. It is year to year. And if there's a new coach, if you get hurt, like I did, that scholarship goes away.
Yes.
So that being said, I'm going to go back to the first one you said, because obviously COVID is the biggest world story, not just in sports last year, but I think you're right. I think people thought, or at least people think, even to this day, they think it's like going to be kind of like smallpox, where we're going to find a vaccine and it's going to be eradicated. And that's not the case. Even the vaccine that we have it's not a vaccine to eradicate it. It's a vaccine to lessen the severity of what you get.
Correct.
And so obviously that's a huge story, but I think you're right. The reason why I think it's going to be a forever thing we're going to be dealing with. So it doesn't make it any less important. However, I think, much like you do, NIL is the biggest story of 2021 because I think it changes the way, one, the NCAA is run, which is a huge organization, obviously. And I think it shifts the balance of power from the traditional schools who were going to be the powerhouses, what we thought forever. Well, now when there's money involved, that changes. So let me go back to something that you said that's very important, because I get this argument all the time. And they say, well, student athletes, they get their, their room and board, they get their tuition, and that should be enough. You're getting a free education. And my thing is this: at once upon a time, I bought into that, and I said, yeah, that's amazing.
I did too.
Here's my problem. If I am an athlete and I'm playing for you and you're giving me a free education, there's a point where what you make versus what I get out of it is no longer anywhere near being balanced.
Right.
So if I go back when the NCAA rules and such were created 100 years ago, I think it was pretty fair. I got an education, you got a player, it worked out. But now the NCAA is $1 billion industry.
Yeah, it is.
So you're making billions, coaches are making hundreds of millions, and I'm getting, what's a 4-year scholarship worth? 100K, 200K,
depending on where you go.
Depending on the school. Well, I'm getting, so let's call it 200K. I'm getting 200K. My coach is getting 100 million, and my school's getting $1 billion. That's no longer balanced, and it'll never be balanced. I understand that, the players will never make 100 million in college, I don't think. However, they can make $1 million, and I think that's fair, because just think about the players who either got a slap on the wrist, a suspension, a fine, because they went to a sporting goods store and signed their name. That's my name.
Right.
You want to pay for my signature? I should be able to sell my signature. That part that's where I kind of went, hold on now. Now we're taking it too far. You're selling my jerseys. You're selling my jerseys to students I go to class with for $50 a shot.
$75.
I get nothing.
I'm eating ramen noodles and hot dogs.
They're buying that. Yeah, I'm eating ramen noodles. Oh man, ramen noodles. I kind of miss ramen noodles. But not that much. You're selling it for $50-$75 with my name on it. It has my name on it. And that's why they're buying it, because I'm the best player here. And I get nothing. So I think that, and so that was the first part of it, why I think this is what they're doing is right. I'm scared also because you put $1 million in the 18-year-old kid's hands, it can get a little dicey. But here's why I like it. And we saw it already. Jackson State, an HBCU, signs the number 1 prospect. Deion Sanders goes out and does his work, because you know why? Well, because what's the difference between going to FSU, his alma mater, and going to Jackson State? Well, you're going to get the same exposure. You're going to get the same money. You're going to get it. So why not? So now these powerhouse schools, will Alabama still be as strong? Now, I think Alabama still has the cachet to still get the top prospects, and Nick Saban does. But I mean, you're going to start to see basketball programs, football program. It's going to start to change, because do I want to go? I'll use Alabama. Do I want to go to Alabama as a 4-star quarterback recruit and be a 3rd string quarterback, or do I want to sign a $500,000 deal and go to? I'm going to bring up some HBCUs because I obviously go with Hugh Jackson at Grambling State.
Of course,
I'm from Louisiana, by the way, so why not go there and start as right where that school probably doesn't get a 4-star recruit. It's probably a 2 or a 3. Now they're getting a 4 and a 5-star recruit because he's got $1 million deal. He's got a $500,000 deal. I'm going to get exposure. I'm going to be seen. Do I need to leave? I know for me, I left the comforts of home in Toronto and went to West Virginia. That was a culture shock. I would have loved to have stayed in Toronto and played. Now that's different. It's Canada, but my point is, you're a California kid, or you're an Alabama kid. You're from Mississippi. You're from Georgia. If you can stay home, and maybe you want to leave. That's another thing. But either way, or you want to leave. Well, now I'm scared. Maybe I want to stay in Georgia because I'm scared. If I go to Alabama, I won't have any money, because I'm going to be focused on football. I'm going to be focused on basketball.
Now remember this too, Tone. Also remember this. Now, Hugh Jackson, Deion Sanders. Because what's the ultimate goal here? The ultimate goal here,
NFL.
Right. So Deion Sanders played in the NFL. So he knows how to get there.
Yep.
Hugh Jackson was a head coach in the NFL.
Yep.
Now he was
Eddie George,
head coach. He played in the NFL. So the pathway to get there is now almost. It's not that it's even, but it's not as the gap isn't. And
that's why I say, look, this is still year 1.
This
thing progresses, and that's why I say it's the biggest story, because this is going to have ramifications and changes to a huge system over the next 5 years. We're going to see things change. Yes, and so that's why, in terms of sports, in terms of the world, I get it. It's COVID, right? But in terms of sports, I think NIL is number 1. But let's end the show with this. because we started the show with mental health and Antonio Brown, and we didn't say.
Mhm.
And there was 3 questions I had about Antonio Brown. Was it his last game? We said yes. Will he be in the Hall of Fame? I think we both agreed at some point. And the last one that we didn't talk about, and it ties in with the mental health, is does he need help? So
Mhm.
let's talk about that because I love my old wide receiver. He went from Denver to Miami to Chicago and then others. But the one thing I loved about Brandon Marshall, and you see him every week now on I Am Athlete talking about mental health, and they do their check-ins and really bringing that to the forefront. I think it's something that as men,
Mhm.
you don't talk about it. If you're feeling bad, if you're depressed, if you're down, it's like buck up, man.
Yeah.
Let's
Get
go.
get over it.
But there's certain things that it's not just I feel bad today. There are some people that have some serious concerns.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying I don't know Antonio Brown's story, so I'm not going to suggest it's CTE or it's mental health or whatever. Obviously, he's if he does need help, I say this: ask for it, get it
Mhm.
to the people around him, help him. But to anybody else, like it's come to the forefront in 2021 more than ever before. And I just say let's keep it that way. And if you're
Mhm.
not feeling, there's people, find someone. Like I know if I'm I'll tell you a funny story. Not a funny story, but a good story about mental
Mhm.
health. So for those that know, I interviewed Hugh Jackson one day a couple of years ago for my
Mhm.
show for Sports, and we really hit it off.
Mhm.
So much so that we decided to do a show for a year called The Coach and AK. He's the coach, I'm AK. And we did a show every single week. And just like you and I, when you talk to someone a couple of times a week, every week, you get to know each other, you either hate each other or you become
Right.
friends.
Mhm.
So Hugh and I became friends. And we had been talking about I Am Athlete, oddly enough, about their check-ins.
Mhm.
And he I'm not talking out of turn because I'm not going to tell you too much, but he opened up to me and said, "Hey, that year, last year in Cleveland was really hard mentally.
I'm
What was
sure.
going on, right? Like he had family issues, which he's openly talked about. There's some deaths in the family.
Mhm.
Obviously, what was going on in Cleveland, they lied to him. All this kind of he couldn't talk about it because he was under contract, and it plays with you emotionally.
Mhm.
And so, kind of fast forward, I went through something halfway through last year, and I was like, I didn't know who would understand what I was going through. And then I remembered Coach Hugh telling me about his stuff, and I was like, he'd understand.
Mhm.
And I reached out to him and I said, hey, this is what's going on. And he, as a great coach motivator would do, gave me one of the best talks I've ever had. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh man, I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
And so my point is, it doesn't have to be, look, it could be your pastor, it could be your brother, your sister, your mother, your best friend, a professional. If what, don't be shy. Just like
Yeah.
I was embarrassed when I was like, this is how I'm feeling. And man, it was the best thing I ever did was saying
Yeah.
it to him because to this day I think back to the words he shared and I was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I feel better.
Yeah.
So I want to put that out there into the world because for anyone who hears it, I always say this: if one person hears it and does something that makes their life better, then it's worth it. So I
Yeah.
wanted to bring it up because it was on the list, and I think it's important. So with that being said, that's the end of episode 1, season 2 of I'm going to call it Sports Basketball Football Life, Fluent and Chill until Friday.
Take it light, but take it.